Apple fritters. These delightful treats consist of an apple slice encased in a light, crispy puff pastry, fried until golden brown and coated in a sweet cinnamon sugar mixture. In the Netherlands, apple fritters are traditional treats eaten during New Year's celebration, next to the oliebol. Every year after Christmas I start making the fritters, between 5 and 9,000 pieces each year. Today I show you how you can fry the best fritter at home, so you have a perfect New Year's evening. Okay, for the tools we need a peeling knife, a pastry cutter for the puff pastry, for the apple, for the hole in the apple, a brush, tea strainer, sharp knife, kitchen towel and something we put the apples on. And of course, a frying pan. Start making the apples. Make them one day before the frying. Peel them and slice them in 12 mm thick slices. Get rid of the core with the 20 to 25 mm cutter. You can choose either 20 or 25. Cut the apple to the correct size with the pastry cutter 60-65 mm. I place the apples on the plate with 2 layers of kitchen paper, then cover them with an additional 2 layers of paper. Store the apples in the refrigerator for the next day. This is done to get some moisture out of the apples and that benefits the baking. Okay, for the ingredients I have puff pastry, apples, peanut oil, cinnamon and sugar. For the cinnamon sugar I use 2% cinnamon on the sugar. Just throw it together and stir gently, because otherwise your whole kitchen is one and all cinnamon. I have bought square puff pastries, but you can also buy it on roll. But make sure you buy the one with butter and not margarine and without yeast. I have 10 sheets of puff pastry and I'll spread them on my kitchen table. Let them defrost for a couple of minutes and make sure that the non-stick sheets are still underneath the puff pastry. Don't make the puff pastry too warm, the puff pastry will tear and get too sticky. Wet the puff pastry on one side with the brush. This is for sticking the top layer puff pastry on the bottom one. So don't make it too wet, otherwise it won't stick. On the half of the puff pastry, put the apple in the middle and put cinnamon sugar inside of the hole. It's important that you make a bump with the cinnamon sugar. This is for a later step. And try to put the cinnamon sugar in the hole and don't spill the sugar on the puff pastry. This will not benefit the baking as the puff pastry won't stick to each other. Drape the other sheet of puff pastry over the apple and push gently next to the apple in the puff pastry, so it sticks together. Do this with care or you damage the puff pastry on the corners of the apple and it will leak oil inside when it's baking. If you accidentally tear, you can easily fix it by squeezing the puff pastry into each other. Now we cut the fritter with this cutter and you want to have the apples in the center. Push relatively hard and remove the excessive puff pastry. Check if the puff pastry is closed nicely, and if not, just do it like this. This next step is an important one as this removes the air what's locked inside of the fritter. You want as little as air as possible because when it's baking in the oil the air expands and you have a bigger chance that the fritter will leak cinnamon sugar and sucks up the oil. Take the fritter in your hand palm and squish firmly like this. Don't put too much force as it will damage the puff pastry, especially on the corners of the apple. Check the fritter for holes in the puff pastry and squeeze the sides one more time just to make sure the fritter is sealed nicely. Okay, the fritters are done. Turn up your frying pan to 180 degrees Celsius, and for preparation we have a bowl with cinnamon sugar. Make sure you check the temperature with a thermometer, as most frying pans are not accurate at all. What is really important is that you try to keep the oil at 180 degrees Celsius all the time. If you have a relatively small frying pan, stay with 2 fritters each time. If you fry more fritters, the more the temperature drops and your fritter does not bake but rather warms up, resulting in an oily fritter. In between the baking, let warm up your oil again when you put the next fritters inside. When one side of the fritter is nice golden brown, flip it over and let the other side bake. The time is around 5 or 6 minutes in total. Take them out of the oil and let them leak out for 1 minute or so. If there is some cinnamon sugar leaked out of the fritter, you can clean the oil with a tea strainer. Especially if you bake large amounts of fritters, you need to take care of your oil by cleaning it. Roll the fritter through the cinnamon sugar and your apple fritter is ready. You can store them easily 3 days in the fridge if you made them in good fresh oil. You can even freeze them for 3 months. Enjoy your fritters, and for everyone, a happy new year. If you have learned something or you liked the video, consider to subscribe. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.